The 911 call comes in just after midnight. The audio is raw. It is chilling. A woman's voice, tight with panic, cuts through the static.
He's in the house. Please, you have to hurry.
The dispatcher's calm, practiced voice answers.
Where are you? What is your address?
The questions are standard procedure, but the answers are anything but. The line crackles. A muffled sound. A scream. Cut short. Then, there is only silence. The dispatcher keeps trying.
Ma'am, are you there? Can you hear me?
Only the dead air of a disconnected line. This is not supposed to happen in a town like Harmony Creek. Neighbors know each other by name. Kids play in the streets until the sun goes down. A quiet, unassuming Midwestern community. The biggest news here is usually the annual county fair. People move here for peace. They come to build a life free from fear. Tonight, that peace has been stolen. The illusion of safety has been utterly broken. The victim is Sarah Jenkins, a 34-year-old schoolteacher, beloved by her students, known for her even brighter garden. She lived alone in a small blue house on Oak Street, her grandmother's house. It was her sanctuary, the smell of freshly baked cookies. She volunteered at the local animal shelter on weekends. A good person living a quiet life. Now that little blue house is a crime scene. Neighbors gather on their lawns, wrapped in robes and blankets. Why Sarah? For the officers stepping across Sarah's threshold, the investigation has just begun. For Harmony Creek, a nightmare is starting to unfold. The search for justice begins now. To her students, she was Miss Jenkins, the third-grade teacher who made learning feel like an adventure. She had a special knack for helping the shy kids find their voice. Parents trusted her completely. Beyond the school walls, Sarah was a devoted daughter. She organized a book club that met once a month, more for the wine and the laughter. She showed up with soup when you were sick. And Mark, a fellow teacher she'd been dating casually. It was new and it made her happy. The little blue house on Oak Street was her pride and joy. Coaxing roses. Neighbors would see her on the front porch swing, a book and iced tea. But was everything as perfect as it seemed? They needed to peel back the layers of this idyllic life. A jilted lover and the perfect friend. They had to find the person who saw Sarah Jenkins not as a light, but as a target. Her alarm went off at 6 o'clock in the morning. A cup of coffee. She picked out a bright yellow dress, her student's favorite. She left her house at 7:30 sharp, waving to her neighbor, Mr. Henderson, getting his newspaper. He would later tell police she seemed perfectly normal. Taught her third graders about fractions. Read a chapter from a classic children's book. Mark, her colleague and new boyfriend, stopped by around 4:30. They made loose plans to see a movie that weekend. Her evening was quiet and routine. Paid with a credit card at 5:47 p.m. Phoned her best friend Emily around 7:15. Emily later said Sarah mentioned nothing unusual. Around 9:01 p.m., Jessica put trash cans out by the curb. She saw a light on in Sarah's kitchen. Jessica gave a small wave. She had no idea that across the lawn, in the quiet blue house, the final, terrifying chapter of Sarah Jenkins's life was about to begin. The dispatcher, following protocol, immediately sent a unit to the address on Oak Street. A single patrol car, driven by Officer Miller, was the first to arrive. The scene was deceptively calm. He knocked firmly. He waited. There was no answer. He walked the perimeter, peering into the dark windows with his flashlight. He shined his light through the glass. And that's when he saw it. It was enough. Within minutes, another patrol car arrived with his supervising sergeant. They made a tactical entry through the back sliding door. It was unlocked. The scene inside was one of controlled chaos. And there, partially hidden behind a sofa, they found her. The officers immediately checked for a pulse, but they already knew it was too late. It was now the start of a long and difficult homicide investigation. The lead detective, a veteran named Frank Russo, arrived just before 1 a.m. He received a quick briefing from the patrol officers at the edge of the yellow tape. No obvious signs of forced entry. The lack of a clear entry point suggested Sarah may have known her killer. The forensics team arrived next, a van full of equipment and specialists. Dressed in white protective suits, they began their slow, methodical work. They photographed everything. They dusted for fingerprints on every surface. They collected samples for DNA analysis, swabbing for any trace the killer might have left behind. While the forensics team worked inside, other officers began the neighborhood canvass. They went door to door, waking up startled residents. One neighbor thought they heard a car speeding away shortly after midnight. Another remembered their dog barking hysterically for a few minutes, but they had dismissed it. For Detective Russo and his team, the long night was just beginning. The body of Sarah Jenkins was taken to the county medical examiner's office. Detective Russo waited for the report. The medical examiner's report was delivered to Russo the next afternoon. Sarah Jenkins had died from blunt force trauma, indicating a violent and personal struggle, but the object was not found at the scene. The report also confirmed there were defensive wounds on Sarah's hands and arms. She had fought back. There were traces of foreign DNA found underneath Sarah's fingernails. She had marked her killer. Now the police had something to compare against any suspects they identified. The unlocked back door all pointed to one terrifying conclusion. Sarah Jenkins likely knew her killer. They started with her best friend, Emily. She recounted their final phone call, searching her memory. Russo pressed gently. About past relationships, Emily hesitated. She mentioned an ex, David. Emily called David intense, possessive. Next, detectives spoke with Mark. He said he was at home, alone, watching a movie. They asked for a voluntary DNA sample. Mark agreed without hesitation. The web of relationships grew more complex. For Detective Russo, everyone was a person of interest until ruled out. The name David Miller now sat at the top of Detective Russo's list. They found what they were half expecting. 6 months after the breakup, Sarah had filed a formal complaint against David for harassment, showing up at her house uninvited. The detectives tracked down David's last known address, an apartment in a town 50 miles away. He had moved out abruptly just a few weeks before Sarah's murder, leaving no forwarding address. Russo's team put out a bolo, "Be on the lookout," for David. It was as if he had dropped off the face of the earth. The unlocked back door suddenly made more sense. He remained a ghost, a shadow haunting the edges of their investigation. Another team was tasked with verifying the alibis of everyone else in Sarah's orbit. They obtained a warrant for his cell phone records. The data came back and revealed a curious detail. For a 2-hour period on the night of the murder, the detectives also canvassed Mark's apartment building. One neighbor, an elderly woman who lived in the apartment below him, provided a potentially significant piece of information. She was a light sleeper and said she distinctly heard his door close and his footsteps in the hall around 11:40 p.m. His alibi was no longer just weak, it was beginning to crack. Now, Detective Russo had 2 strong persons of interest. It was the one piece of evidence that could either exonerate a man or seal his fate. Detective Russo ordered his team to conduct a more thorough search of Sarah Jenkins's life. Tucked away in the back of a drawer, they found it. It was a small, private journal. Russo and his team read the entries, feeling like intruders in her private world. Then the last few weeks turned darker. Sarah wrote about Mark. He was becoming too much, too fast. "Mark scared me today. I think I need to end this." That entry changed everything. It gave a powerful, immediate motive. They brought Mark back for another interview. This time, they would not be so gentle. He sat in the same small, sterile room. The atmosphere was different. Russo brought up the cell phone records. Mark's composure flickered. Russo slid Sarah's journal across the table, open to the last entry. Recognition, shock, a flicker of panic. Finally, Mark looked up. His eyes filled not with grief, but with a cold, simmering anger.
"She was messing with my head."
He began to talk, words spilling out in a torrent. Mark admitted he went to Sarah's house that night. The confession, when it came, was not a dramatic breakdown. It was a cold, detached statement.
I lost it."
He admitted to picking up a small, heavy statue from an end table, the missing murder weapon. He had taken the statue with him when he left, tossing it into a river on his drive home. And just like that, the mystery was solved. The Harmony Creek District Attorney's Office moved quickly, charging him with first-degree murder. No one could reconcile the image of the friendly teacher with the cold-blooded killer he was revealed to be. Mark pleaded guilty to the murder of Sarah Jenkins. Sarah's mother gave an impact statement. The judge sentenced Mark to life without the possibility of parole. But the story of Sarah Jenkins is not merely a collection of case files and legal documents. A scholarship fund was established in her name at Harmony Creek Elementary, ensuring that a legacy of kindness and light endures. The yellow tape was gone from the little blue house on Oak Street, but the memory lingered like a ghost. Doors were locked more carefully at night, which ultimately became her final, powerful act of self-preservation, reaching out from beyond to unmask her killer and secure the justice she was denied in her final moments.